Hello and welcome to TrishRockTV, an energy shift. Changing energy, shifting perceptions. Today's guest will really inspire you and give you some new ideas on healing, on consciousness, on how we are here as a human, but also as a spirit. Arthur has been doing lots of different courses and different ways of healing for quite some time now, including spiritual psycho-hypnosis. He's also a Usui Reiki master, and Arthur and I both attended the Holistic Health and Wellbeing course, which is where we met. So he's also a holistic health and wellbeing practitioner. His modality is kind of healing through the body with energy, and we're going to talk about that because, you know, Arthur has, although he's studied some traditional ways, he has created and allowed the healing that he does, his modality, to flow through him. So very excited to introduce you my beautiful friend, Arthur Moudakis. Welcome, Arthur.
Thank you, Trish. Thank you. Yeah, that was very well said. Thank you.
Yeah, it's such a pleasure to have you on. Thank you so much for coming on the show. And I know that everybody listening today is going to really benefit from this. Not just from your wisdom, but what I think this interview will also offer is that you can be individual. You can do what comes naturally to you. Even you can study the basics and then evolve that into your own modality. So yeah, so talk us through how you've kind of come to where you are now.
Well, I think my story is like most people's story, in the sense of, you know, there's something different, better. You want to get out of your own sort of, out of your own way. And I think, oh, I say that now, but at the time I didn't realize it was me that was in my way.
Yeah.
And yeah, so through my story, like it's funny how life just sort of pushes you in certain areas and it really challenges you. And I think for myself, I'm really grateful that I always had that persistence and I always wanted to know more. How could I do this? How could I handle that? Because it's a very emotional journey, isn't it?
It is, and you're very curious, and you know that's the Aquarian in you. You're very curious, and you're free spirit, and you like to learn. And I think this is why you've been guided to, you know, so many amazing books, including lots of religious books, which has really given you this base, I guess, now to really start expanding. But yeah, it's interesting, you know. Nothing's ever random. So we kind of look back on our life, even the last 10 years, right? And we kind of think, wow, now I get it. But in the time when you're in it, you're like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Get me out of here.
Yeah, like my mate Jesus, why have you forsaken me? What the hell?
I think we've all been down on our knees going, what the?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. But it's really interesting, and like what I really love about those kinds of situations is the contrast in this life.
Yeah.
Like, just imagine, like it's such a heavy. Well, it has the appearance of being really heavy, and like what a contrast! Like to feel those things that we actually do, it's actually really quite a gift. It's not a curse, and it's not being forsaken, but it's actually really a gift. And the amount of energy in those kinds of situations, it's really quite amazing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yep. Okay.
Yeah, so one of the things though with all of those adversities and those challenges in life where you're kind of in the mud and you don't know how you'll ever get out, you actually become creative, and should you choose it, because not everybody chooses it, should you choose it, you do find a way to get out and kind of see the light, so to speak. And that's when all of those amazing things happen and the ideas come in and all of that. So, you know, I feel that has happened to you quite a lot, and you're getting out of your own way now to allow it.
Yeah. Slowly. I'm still learning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing about you that I really like is that you are willing to allow the new in. A lot of people, and we all do it at some point, we just get so stuck and so stubborn and so set in our perspective, and we go, no, there can't be another way. There can't be another answer. There can't be another solution. But you're really open with that and curious. And, that's one of the things I really admire about you. If something doesn't feel right for you, you'll research it and find the answers that feel right for you.
Well, thanks, Trish. That's very nice of you for saying. Yeah, I think I'm finding, because I'm really big on words and stuff, and there's two words I love the most. And one of them is nothing, which is no thing. So if you look at it as a perspective sort of way, when you're confronted with a situation, like it's just a thing. Yeah. It's just something that's making your body react in such a way. And then the word understanding, because like when you understand something, that energy just dissipates.
Yeah.
It just dissipates. And it's really simple. But the moment you confront a situation or feel you're being confronted, then there's energy there. But the moment you understand that energy, it just goes on its way.
It's like releasing resistance.
Yeah, that's right. So like I really use my body because my mind gets in the way a lot. So I use my body as a tool, and it took a long time to learn. But I use, at the moment I feel uncomfortable about something, that's what I need to understand, because then I'll no longer feel uncomfortable once I understand it. And I think it's really that simple. Very challenging, but it's really that simple.
It's challenging, but that's the higher consciousness that we're all being called to step into, because our body, actually the innate body, the mind of the body, gives us all the information we need to know, and
that's right.
Can't overthink it. You just need to ask and know the answer. And that's another really cool thing that you do, is you really look at words. And some of the classes that I've seen you do, or if I've been there, you just get a new view on a word. And it's just really interesting, because as a human, we just kind of take things for granted, right? But when you're actually examining words, it's just really interesting, and it takes on a whole new light. So it really, I feel that when you talk over the last couple of years, you've slowed down because you're so aware of the words you speak. Yeah.
And words are really powerful, and and it's like if you consider like an occultist, right? Somebody who likes to summon down entities, for example, and bring them into this world. Like they've got to be really specific in the kinds of words they're using, because they could be summoning anything, right? And like the wrong word, or said the wrong way, creates a whole new energy in a sense. So even just us speaking now, we're opening a portal of some kind. And depending on our words, the viewers are going to respond one way or another. Some will be comfortable, some will be uncomfortable, so some will be like, yeah, this is great. Some will be like, no, not so cool, whatever. But the words, if they're pure enough and if they're true enough, they're going to tap into certain parts of the being that'll wake them up or shut them off. And so it's really important, I think, that we understand the words we do speak, because it's all out there, and it goes on, and that's part of the creation, isn't it? The creation begins in here, and then it comes out here, and then we use our hands to physically, like it's really amazing.
And I found today also that opening up that portal of energy goes for spirit and other beings as well, because I've had a few visitors here while I've been speaking to people, because it's the same energy that we're tuning into. So really, really interesting. So it is important to look at the words that we're using, not just from that energetic level, but also the words we use also shape our reality in the human form. So,
Definitely.
you know, really picking up the awareness, and that's, you know, something that I teach, and something I'm trying to learn myself, is to really pick myself up on those words when I'm using the wrong words. And they're not right or wrong, but, you know, if speaking about what I don't want is going to bring me more of what I don't want. And pulling yourself up every time you kind of say something like that and go, oh, okay, words are important here. How can I express that in a better way? And it truly is important. And sometimes the only difference between, you know, somebody who is here and somebody who is there is the words they use.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. But not just from the outside, on the inside as well.
Yeah.
Like within yourself, you know, it's one thing to present to the world your voice and your mind through the physical, but what's actually going on inside? What's actually going on in here?
The conversation in there.
That's right, because they're creations as well. And like what I love about the Bible at the beginning, you know, we've been created in the image of God. And so what's God? God is the creator. And then we've got the earth itself, Mother Earth. So you've got the masculine, which is God, and then you've got the feminine, which is Mother Earth. And if you kind of consider Mother Earth has all the ingredients for physical, three-dimensional creation.
Yeah.
Trees, water, animals, the air, the cosmos, everything. Like it's really amazing. But all that Earth needs is the God direction. So God being the consciousness, let's create man. Boom. The Earth has all the ingredients for man, and we're in the image of that, which means we are also creators. So if you kind of look at the world we've created on this Earth, because it's two different things, isn't it? Like the Earth is one thing and will always exist, but the world that we've created, we've actually created it.
Through our consciousness and our words and our action. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, that's exactly right. We created the word for war. We created the word for love. We created the word for hate and anger and, you know, anxiety and depressions and all these crazy concepts. But they all have such power in them, don't they?
Absolutely. And that's why you won't win a war by staying in the war.
Well, right.
Find a solution of peace, not focus on the struggle of the war. And it's just so important. That's with disease, anything, you have to focus on, you know, the opposite. You can't solve the problem by being in the problem, and that goes for war, disease, an argument with yourself, whatever it is. Right?
And these things breed themselves as well. So if you never heard of war before, and then I'm like, hey Trish, have you ever heard of war? And you said no. And I'm like, well, war is, you know, people killing and slaughtering. Now it's bred. So now it's created more. And then you'll be to somebody else, oh, have you ever heard of war?
Absolutely.
Bang, it continues. And like it just spreads just like that, like a vicious disease.
And that's what's happened with us over generations. But I feel things are turning around now, which is why we have a whole lot of other beings coming in now too, because, you know, the people before us have done a lot of groundwork, and you know, we're at the point now where we are more open to see the bigger side of ourselves, not just this human part. And, you know, I kind of feel that, you know, the other beings in the cosmos are also noticing that you know, we're open to something different. So it's just really interesting what's happening. Now the other thing I want to talk about is your healing, because you're saying that, you know, it's important to listen to your body, but you actually listen to other people's bodies is probably the only way I can describe it. I don't know if you can even describe what you do, but have a go.
Tricky. Well, I guess like you go to see a reader, for example, and then a reader will share what they get.
Yeah.
And so what I kind of do, I guess I kind of do a similar thing. The only difference is I guide my clients to their answers,
Yeah.
and because their answer is actually somewhere inside of them. And so I help them find that answer,
Okay.
so they have their own awareness.
Yeah.
And then through that awareness, that's where the healing really occurs.
Yeah.
So it's not that I'm actually healing them.
Mm.
Uh, I'm just guiding them to their own healing. And then the healing begins.
Because
Um,
because no one can heal another person. All you can do is give them the gateway to heal themselves. And so
right.
you're doing that through reading their body, the same way that you read your own body.
Yep. Yep. Like, of course, there are things that I can do to manipulate, um, like even just say working with the chakra, like we can actually manipulate that energy to
Yeah.
help the client along. You know, even if we can help them open up some of those portals, even just for a few minutes, so that
Yeah.
they can actually have the space within themselves to be like, oh my God, you know, like
Yeah.
that's what it is.
I get it.
And like, yeah, that's right. And that's their answer. And that's where the healing begins, because really healing is just changing the mind. It's really that simple.
And it's the
Uh,
awareness, isn't it? And you give somebody the
yeah,
awareness of what they didn't know, and it could change everything for them.
right.
Yeah.
Because the biology changes so rapidly, and that's what I love, like about things like muscle testing. Like imagine with muscle testing,
Yep.
you ask a question and your body responds, yes or no, and
Yep.
that's how quickly your body responds. You know, it
Absolutely.
responds before you even done the testing. Like your biology has completely changed. And
Yeah.
that's what's cool about these kinds of modalities, is because your biology does change the moment you create a new awareness.
Yeah.
And then the healing begins. Now you've given permission to your body. You know what? It's okay. I don't need to have this rash anymore. This rash doesn't need to protect me anymore.
No.
You know, we've seen it. And, you know, same with addictions.
Yeah.
Like it's funny the voices that addictions have.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, of course, I get really involved with it, but there's like all these voices, and that's why I call them energy forms. I don't like the word entity,
Yeah.
uh, because a lot of it we actually create and we ask for, completely innocently, of course.
Absolutely. And it is an energy. It's an energy sitting there that is blocking us from choosing a different energy.
Yeah, that's right. And I think working with myself, because I experiment a lot on myself as well,
Yeah.
um, and because I really need to understand what I'm doing before I even go near another human, because
Yeah.
you can actually do a lot of um, you can do a lot of harm as well.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of diligence around this kind of work is really necessary. And
Absolutely. Because you know you are playing with people's energies
yeah,
and their perceptions on things. Do you think that you know ultimately we're not going to, you know, in generations to come, I think not that far away, maybe 3 generations, we're not going to use, we're not going to need to use modalities like muscle testing, because we're just going to ask the body and believe the answer.
yeah, pretty
And
much. Yeah,
people do that now too. So what's
yeah,
wrong? Oh, okay, great. And you believe the answer. But the muscle testing is kind of, for me, it's still, it's great. I use it too. It's still kind of like I don't trust the answer I'm getting, so I'm going to use this.
yeah,
but
yeah.
I think that over the next couple of generations, it's just going to really be an innate sense of knowing within the body. You know, it's like, oh,
And it
okay,
is.
you
Yeah,
know, this is what I feel. What's that about, body? Oh, okay, great, thank you. And
yeah,
it's
yeah.
yeah, it's
I agree. Because like even working with muscle testing, like it's a tool.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
and
and
it's a
and
great
that's what they
tool.
are. They're
You know?
tools to
Yeah,
something greater. And so, like, if anybody is out there muscle testing, like, work more than just the muscle testing. Like, actually feel into your body and what's actually happening,
yeah,
because you'll find that you can actually, there's like a little wave that opens up on the, I guess, the positive or the yeses, that actually flushes your body. But the thing is, it's so faint and it can be really hard to find. And once you do find it, you won't need the muscle testing, because you'll be able to feel your body changing with your thoughts.
Yeah.
So if you're thinking about an uncomfortable situation, you'll know how your body feels around that. So then you can make a decision that's not a cool idea.
Yeah.
Or it'd be the opposite. It'd be a nice little healthy burst. And you're like, okay, great. You know, that's something positive for me. My body says, yes,
Yeah.
do this,
Yeah.
think this, be this way, whatever.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So if you do muscle testing, use it as a tool,
Yeah.
but instead of just focusing on your fingers or however you do your muscle testing, like your body as you're doing it as well, and really pay attention to those really fine little signals, and they're really fine.
Yeah.
Really sensitive. Yeah.
I guess the other thing about various modalities is that for the people who are just discovering that they are more than just their body, and they're discovering all of the invisible stuff around, very important, the non-seen element of ourselves. You know, a lot of them are still wanting the proof, and depending on how analytical they are, they want it to make sense logically. So it's important to have both, but I think in generations to come, there'll be an element of trust that is so much higher now than we can even imagine. Trust in ourselves, our abilities, and our bodies. That it's going to be, and that's the new world, I guess, that we're all heading to.
Yeah, that's right.
So the other thing I wanted to ask you is, because, you know, when I first met you, you were right into hypnosis, and so really right into, you know, studying the mind and the brain, how it works, and then from there, now you're kind of in the ether as well, I guess is the best way. Did you find that was an easy progression, and do you feel that without the hypnosis training that it wouldn't have flowed on, like you would have had more questions than answers without that?
The hypnosis helped me a lot, because it actually showed me a lot in the metaphysical side of things as well, because I found as I was exploring different scripts around different things, the amount of work that's actually put into hypnosis is quite amazing. And it's really interesting how it relates to the body as well. And I found something just happened in my mind, and I finally understood the subconscious. And we use that word, but it's not enough. Like, I actually think it's an incorrect way of talking about our beings, the subconscious. And I actually think it's more of a distraction, because it's a really confusing area, and it's a very confusing subject to look into. I won't have time to go into that now, but
because just the word sub, I've already just come up with this vision of consciousness, and then a little subheading subconsciousness. But obviously there's a whole lot of other, not just that. There's a lot of things grouped in that one phrase.
That's right. So hypnosis taught me a lot, in the sense that, like, say, people who wanted to give up cigarettes, they didn't have withdrawals, right? But in the medical association, you know, they go on about withdrawals and take this chewing gum and do this and do that. But I found a lot of hypno cases didn't.
Yeah.
And so what does that say? Like, the whole thing around perception is a really big thing.
Even with alcohol, and you know, I've given up a lot of substances over the years. Cigarettes, it took me quite a few tries of that, but you know, in the end, what really did it for me was just becoming a non-smoker.
Yeah, that's right.
When you're not giving something up, you're not craving it. I just became a non-smoker. And I set a few little rules with myself, like I'm never going to buy a packet again. If I do want one, I'm only going to smoke a rollie, which means I have to be out with someone else who actually smoked rollies to actually have one. So yeah, over the first year I had a few here and there, but I made those rules for myself because I wasn't giving up. I just became a non-smoker.
Well, it's funny you said that, because just that example you gave there, that's where I work, and that's what I would call an energy form. Because why is it that you don't have the power to make that decision?
Yeah.
Why can't you just make that decision and bang,
Yeah.
you're doing it? You
Yeah.
know, because the cigarette or the tobacco, if you will, let's say tobacco is an entity and it wants to be smoked.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So the moment you've taken a cigarette, and you can use this example with even just thoughts, but you open the portal, you have a cigarette, and you allow this entity into your being.
Yeah.
And so now it wants to continue to exist, but it can only exist through you. And so what does it do? It's always swaying you to have another cigarette. It's always swaying you. And it says the most appropriate things. And as an energy form around smoking, for example, it's probably only saying like 3 or 4 things, but it's the most appropriate things that you just cannot overcome.
Yeah.
You know, we'll just have one more.
It's crazy. Even the, you know, you need to relax, you really need a cigarette. Well, and actually cigarettes don't relax you. They actually get the adrenaline going. so even that, even though you believe it, it's not true.
That's right. Yeah, like it's freaky. But like you can turn that to, you know, any kind of addiction, any kind of emotional instability or whatever. Like it's those voices that I work with. And it's really interesting, like bringing a lot of these energy forms to the surface. Some of the things they actually say are just terrible.
Yeah.
Absolutely terrible. And I've had some really confronting situations over the last couple of years. And what I find even more interesting is, even though I'm separate to the person, I'm amazed at what these energy forms know about me as well. Yeah, it really freaks me out, because they don't want to leave. Yeah, they want to continue existing in, you know, creation. Imagine all the spirits out there that want another taste of life, and they're just waiting.
Yeah.
They're just waiting.
And I mean, ultimately, we are all one energy. So, you know, it's not surprising when you're in that space that, because I talk to other people's higher selves when I'm in that space to find solutions for them. So you're doing that as well, and talking to the energy, but they know just as much about you.
It's really creepy. When I first started opening up to this stuff, like it used to freak me out a lot.
Yeah.
You know, like sometimes you'd see people's faces distort. But what's really interesting now is, like, the more I understand about it, it's becoming not only easier, but the energies are less confronting as well. Like, it's really interesting because they know they don't belong there.
Do you think
like they all know it?
They feed on a bit of fear as well?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. Because when I first started, sometimes I'd get ill afterwards working with some clients, especially some heavier cases. But it was the most simplest of things to resolve that, and it was my perception towards my work. Because in my mind, I thought the heavier the work, especially working with physical illnesses, I thought it must be different. And so when I went in working with people around their physical illnesses, I got sick. But it was my perception. It was the most silliest thing in the end. And it took me like a month to work it out. And I'm like, dude, it's all just energy. It doesn't matter if its appearance is physical or if it's etheric. It's the same energy. It's just my eyes that have deceived me. Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's really interesting.
So, got the dulcet tones of my dog snoring. Yeah, so the other thing I want to ask you is, where do you see yourself in this whole world of energy, or have you just kind of let that go, and you're just happy to explore and be curious every day and see where it leads you?
I do want to put some stuff on paper. So I have an idea for some books, and there's a series of books I want to do that kind of starts from the beginning.
Yeah.
So I've got very different ideas around a lot of different things. So the way I work with chakra is very different.
Yeah.
And my perception of the chakra as I understand them is a little different as well.
Yeah.
Mind, body, spirit, even just that concept. I don't think a lot of people actually understand mind, body, and spirit. And I don't think they understand the difference between the three and how they all work together and integrate.
Yeah. And even
and I think
even the mind, I think, is different to the brain.
well, I've realized, well, the mind is different to the brain.
Yeah.
So I guess in the simplest form, the brain is what computes the body, but
Yeah.
the mind is a whole body experience. It's not just here, it's the entire being.
The mind is kind of like the creator, I call it, but it's the mind is the I behind everything. The mind is that, like the I am. The mind is so if you observe yourself, you're kind of, you know, there as the spirit in a human body, but the I is the one, the mind is the one observing you.
That's right. But the only downside to the mind working with the body, having the two together, is the body's got its own agenda as well.
The body has its own mind.
And it does. And it does. And that's where our conflicts come in, because then you've got spirit as well, which knows what's best. And it's like, what are you doing? I don't know, but I'm going to do it anyway. You know, so just there, you've got the mind in the middle, which is like trying to work with spirit and the body. The body's really hungry, so it's happy to eat chocolate and McDonald's and whatever. But spirit's like, you know what you really need is some beautiful grapes and nice nuts and something really pleasant. Yeah, no, we're going to go get McDonald's.
Yeah.
So you got these battles always going on. But I think understanding those things is where the true power comes from.
Understanding them, absolutely, and not beating yourself up about them, and just going, you know what, I'm human too. If you weren't growing and expanding, you'd be dead. And while you're still alive, you're going to be human. So, you know, and it's just beating yourself up about it that I think is to the detriment of most people, and then staying angry with yourself for a long period of time, which just makes things worse. I think that was one of my issues with alcohol. Because, as you know, I gave up finally last year, and, you know, I've been drinking since I was about 12.
You're right.
It's always been a numbing for me and an escape. Not getting drunk every night, but needing just that little bit. And it's been interesting just in the last month, because I don't really want one, but it's been like 1 or 2 in the afternoon, and I'm like, there's something in me saying go to the shop and buy some wine, and I don't know what this thing is that it's in me. It's saying go to the shop and buy some wine, and I'm like, what the? I'm like, oh my goodness, maybe I haven't beat this addiction. And then by 6 o'clock, I don't even want it. So that's been really interesting that's come up in this last month. And I'm thinking maybe it's just those last little entities or energies that are in me trying to just give it one more go.
They are,
We can just feed her.
So you can use that as a sign, right? So, so you're already noticing it. So you know there's work to do. So you've got 2 choices now. You can either continue to explore it and make it nothing, or eventually they will manifest. They will creep up, and they will, because they know you, like they're inside of you. They know you better than you do.
Absolutely.
They know the perfect things to say. They always do. They're so cheeky.
And I've just been noticing, you know, what feelings I've got when that does come up. And normally it's just to kind of, you know, feel defeated about something or whatever. And it's just those old patterns of, well, let's just numb ourselves for the night and not worry about it. But, you know, by 6 or 7 o'clock when I didn't buy the alcohol, I just feel so proud of myself. And I'm like, yes. And then I get on, you know, I've just been so productive. It's been amazing. But Yeah, but you know, I think with any addiction, and I know you work really closely with a lot of people who have these addictions, and people have them at different degrees. You know,
Yeah,
different.
that's right.
It's not
That's a
always
perception.
that easy to
So
kick.
be careful of that.
Different what? Sorry?
That's a perception when you say different degrees. Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Oops.
Perception. Yeah. A good friend of mine told me many years ago. He said you can't be half pregnant.
No,
So you either are or you aren't.
that's true. So it's not actually
And
it's not actually the addiction that's worse, or whatever. It's the person's um, fear of change or letting go, I guess, that goes to different degrees.
yeah, but it's usually not the person that's afraid to let go.
Okay.
Yeah, and when you hear these things speak, they don't want to let go
Yeah.
at all. Some of them do. Some of them know they've been caught out.
Yeah.
And they're free to just continue.
Yeah.
But some of them, yeah, they're enjoying it too much. They're
Absolutely.
having a real happy free ride.
Well, I think you do astounding work with that, and you know, together with your hypnotherapy and your Reiki experience and the other modalities that you've learned, you know, you kind of put them all together to really help the person in that moment. And
Well, I've actually given up on hypnotherapy.
have you?
Yeah, because there is a really dark side to hypnosis.
Okay.
Like hypnosis helped me work to the stage that I'm at.
Yeah.
And I see it as a stepping stone as well.
Yeah.
Very powerful modality, but it's got a lot of holes in it that I found.
Okay.
And the way it's used on us on a daily basis, I don't want to participate in that either.
Oh, in society.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm excited for what's going to, you know, evolve from you in the future. And, you know, I've said to you before, you know, where I think you're going. And for everyone listening, Arthur's an amazing channel as well, and really channels in from really wise people, from wisdom of the past is probably the best way to say that when he's exploring things. So what's the best way people can get in touch with you? I'll have the links here for them to click on, but is Facebook or?
Yeah, through Facebook, through email, anybody local, they can just give me a call as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll leave all the details there.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been really fun, and I always love talking to you. You always have, you know, something magical to say. And
Thank you so much.
I think the work that you're doing is incredible, and it's growing in intensity every day. So
yeah, it is. Yeah. Thank you so much, Trish.
Oh, my absolute pleasure.
Good to see you. I missed you.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, so connect with Arthur. All the links are here, and thank you for joining us tonight. Please tune in next week for our next episode of TrishRockTV. Bye.